Good evening, everybody. My name is Christina, and I'm with the Atlantic Institute. And tonight we have one of our TED dialogue discussions that we do every month. This month we have the privilege of having Catherine Fleming Bruce here with us, and she's going to help moderate the discussion and hold a conversation with us. I am here for technical support and to help everything move along. So I get a break. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Catherine so she can go ahead and introduce herself and let you know a little bit about her. And then we'll go ahead and start watching our show.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you all for being here today. My name is Catherine Fleming Bruce. I'm a resident of Richland County, Columbia, South Carolina. I'm an author. I did a book on historic preservation and civil rights historical sites around the country, and that was an award-winning book, and I had an opportunity to talk to people around the country around some of the themes in the book. I'm also an advocate and have done many international things, including the Atlantic Institute. I became interested in this particular TED Talk because I'm actually in the process of running for office right now. I am a candidate for the United States Senate. And as such, I get the opportunity to talk to many people from around the state from many different backgrounds. So I was intrigued by the opportunity to hear about listening to other people and doing that well. And I think it will provide all of us with a conversation from our own experiences after we've watched the TED Talk.
And I just reminded myself of, I liked this TED Talk because I actually, working with an interfaith organization, I send out emails a lot. And in the past, I have gotten a couple of hate emails back from people thinking that I was of a different faith, and they would just send me horrible, nasty stuff. And I was shocked. So I really did enjoy this. So let's go ahead and get this going.
Many things to think about with the with that presentation. And I wanted to start with some initial impressions. If each person on this Zoom, what is your immediate first impression of the idea of having a coffee like that? Would you do it? Do you think it would work? Would you be apprehensive? Do you think it's necessary critical work to a democracy, as you suggested?
I will go first.
All right.
So I think we might all know I would do it in a heartbeat. Just because I've been doing this for almost a decade. But I was speaking before with Catherine, and I had mentioned to her how my father used to repost the memes and different things on his social media that would drive me nuts, that were inaccurate portrayals of people from different faiths. And I found, like, we have Atlantic Institute in South Carolina. There's some dialogue organizations in Florida where he lives. And I reached out to them and I said, listen, I need somebody that can go and talk with my father because this is driving me insane, and go have coffee with him. And so I connected them. I don't know if my father ever went and had that conversation. I just said to him, Dad, look, you have to get clear because you keep spreading hate. If you don't know what you're spreading, if you're not clear and you're sharing information that's misinformation, you're spreading hate. And I can't, I'm sorry, I can't have you spread hate. And I was like, this misinformation, and I feel responsible for this. So I know I've worked on arranging that for my own parents. So and I think with the hate mail that I've gotten from people, I've usually sent back quite a nice reply and thank them for their time, and encourage them to attend something again or something. Encourage them to attend, because I figured the best place for them to learn about anything is to come to something. So.
Yes. So that sounds encouraging. Marcia, what do you think? Marcia is on mute. If you wanted to unmute yourself and pitch something. I see Angie's unmuted. Oh, there's Marcia. What do you think, Marcia?
Oh, absolutely. That is the answer, to just dialogue with people. Because, and I know you have to examine yourself because we've got these prejudices. You know, it's just, you just have to always be checking yourself. Yeah, but that, it's encouraging. I mean, there's so many problems right now.
Yes.
Abortion, gun, you know, the gun things, and well, just the whole atmosphere. So, but yeah, you know, we have to look for opportunities, I guess, to try to dialogue with people.
Yes, yes, and the fact that someone is putting that forward is important, because we have so many other examples of bullying and people criticizing one another, or other examples, but for someone to come out with an example that's different, that says, let's listen to each other.
Yeah.
Here's how to do it. That's such a wonderful example. Now, Lori's put some comments in. She said, I'd be apprehensive, but I can see how it would be beneficial to the process of understanding each other. We won't learn anything if we don't have open discussions. Yes, thanks for that, Lori. Anne, what do you say?
What I am thinking right now is that, yes, I have been having conversations like this, especially with, you know, one or two people that it have for quite some time. You know, we just continue on. But what I was really wanting to say is that when I initially decided to engage somebody I disagreed with, I had to reckon with the fact that I didn't easily want to find things that we had in common. Kind of like the speaker said, it didn't just happen. My emotional state didn't just go along with my decision and my desire to encounter another. I had to kind of work with, not work with, I had to realize that something needed to happen in me in order to allow a healthy conversation, to allow a conversation in which we could find common ground. And for me, that took a little while, but it was so worth it to recognize that in me, and then to want to relax, release, let go of the tensions that I had around finding common ground.
Yes, yes. And I think the common ground part is so very important. Now, there's also the point that the speaker made about focusing on the person and your common personhood, as opposed to different positions you were taking. I think that's very important, because there are many reasons to go to a conversation. You could go to that person and say, well, my goal is to talk them into believing what I believe. Or, you know, my goal is just to listen and nod and go home. But a goal that says, how can we both have a conversation and respect one another's humanity? That's an entirely different conversation and operation to be involved with. Bob, what are your thoughts?
Well, you know, I have a Muslim friend here in Colombia who's always willing to reach out to people who are not tolerant of the Muslim religion, and he's very good at it. He's good at smoothing things over. Now, I would like to be like that, but I am not. usually whenever I get in a conversation with someone that's a racist or a Muslim, Islamophobe or anything, usually things turn worse. I'm just not good at it, so I tend to stay out of it because I'm not any good at it, and just leave it to the people who are good at it. You know.
Well, that makes me think also of, and again, as a candidate, every candidate is going to encounter people who have a variety of beliefs and opinions. And how do we engage those people as someone who wants to be a public servant? So there are a couple of different opportunities that I've had. So for one, a number of us candidates, because there are a number of us out on the trail at this time of year, we're getting postcards from people. So it's some kind of organized message and method of sending these postcards to a candidate to kind of share your opinion. So we look at those postcards and say, well, what's the best way to engage with those individuals? So I think, a coffee would be a good way to do that. There's also social media. And I noticed now in social media, there is a couple of buttons that you can push on Twitter. So one will say, I can post something, it will say anyone can answer. And then another one that says only these people that I follow can answer. And then another one says, oh, well, just those of us who follow each other. So the audience that you would engage with gets smaller and more boundaries are put around it. And it's your choice how you want to approach that. So
Wow, very interesting.
Yeah. So given this conversation, how would you which one would you pick? And I also think about Facebook, for instance, where many people will post something, and then if someone brings an opposing view, they're very upset and angry. They say, well, this is my page, and if you believe that, go somewhere else. So the idea of dialogue with folks is just not even there. They're there to kind of broadcast what they think, and the idea of someone challenging them is a very uncomfortable idea that they think is actually bordering on disrespect. So we have all of these avenues for interaction that usually the roads don't lead to Rome. They lead to they lead to more borders, more walls, and more fences. And this speaker is showing us a road that will probably lead to less violence, more understanding, possibility for more cooperation.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Many years ago, everybody was asking me how I came to my job. And so many years ago, I think I was 21 or 22, I was down in Florida at Eckerd College in a little think group. And we had to create, everybody in the group had to create something. What would you want to create in the world to help the world? And so people were coming up with all kinds of things. And I didn't have an idea of what something I'd want to create. And so I kind of just was sitting there thinking about listening to everybody else's ideas. And I just kind of said, I'd love to create some understanding. And I said, I think if people could understand each other, we'd have a lot less of all of the issues that everybody's talking about. Mm-hmm. And then I said, but nobody funds understanding. Nobody does anything around understanding. And then come to find out, like 10 years later, 15 years later, something like that. Yeah. I found what I do now. And I was like, oh my gosh, we really do.
Yes. Yes.
Keith he has told the story. I don't think anybody on here has heard the story. Anne might have in the past, but Keith lives in Simpsonville, South Carolina, down the road is a very big, large church.
Mhm.
And he decided to go visit the church one Sunday and sat and he listened to the pastor give his sermon. And this is a large, like a mega church, large church. There's a couple hundred people or so. And he said the pastor was speaking about something with, I'm just gonna say something with Muslims that was inaccurate.
Mhm.
And so he listened and took note of it. And afterward, he went up to the pastor and he said, I'd like to introduce myself. And he said, and I'm a Muslim.
Mhm.
He said, and I'd like to have coffee with you.
Mhm.
He said, because I'd like to discuss some of the things that you said, and he said, because I recognize that as a single person standing in front of hundreds of people that are listening for guidance,
Mhm.
what your view is and what you say is extremely important. Because, and he sat and he had coffee with him like a couple of days later, and he was telling him, like, if my wife walks down the road with the kids in her headdress, if somebody might take what you said.
Mhm.
And I mean, and he said, so I just want to make sure that that you fully understand. And
Mhm.
the pastor very much appreciated him taking the time to come to his church of his own free will and come and sit and listen and actually reach out to him, because you could very easily go, I'm not ever going back there again. They're
Mhm.
messed up, or you can make some kind of excuse. But I liked how she was saying that you have a personal responsibility
Mhm.
to have conversation.
Yes, and some would say how the conversation is held is a critical issue, although others would say um, some of these things that we say and how we say them are free speech, and we ought to be able to just kind of engage um, in a way that doesn't have to be approved. So some examples of that. Um, I have a friend, I think they call it bird dogging, where they go to these speeches and they'll stand up and, say something, call the people out. You have other opportunities online or in other places where you're calling people out because they're saying something wrong, and usually in kind of a public venue. Um, and there was even a young lady who was at a protest in 2020, and a George Floyd protest here in South Carolina. And there was some engagement with law enforcement. And this lady was recently charged and convicted to 4 years in jail because of her, however she interacted with the officers. So we had, and there was a group that came to protest this. But I think the idea is that what is there a certain kind of parameter, a certain kind of temperature, a certain kind of language or approach that we feel is more successful? Or do we need to be open if someone is upset and maybe their, maybe language is a little heated and a little engaged? Are we still going to be able to have that good coffee conversation if it's not, nice and we're sipping tea and everybody's calm? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I have seen, I am I was a second generation foster parent. And so I've learned to de-escalate scenarios. And so I prefer to go to de-escalation,
Mm-hmm.
and I prefer to come back to that moment later and have a conversation when the emotional heat is not as strong,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to get through and have a conversation. But I do know that some people, they're done at that point. They don't want to have any more conversation after that. So some people have a harder time with scenarios like that, and they want. There was at one point I know that there was, when with all the rioting that was going on, I
Mm-hmm.
kept saying, I wish there was a leader that could show people that there was, if you want change, you might have to go about it the political way of
Mhm,
of there's a path. It's
mhm,
not clearly defined for all of us what that
mhm,
path is, but
mhm.
it's there's a process to help change things. And not all the time is it this all of this way.
Mhm,
So it's kind of like
mhm.
learning that there's a way to actually make something happen. Um, because I don't know, like that poor woman that going to jail for 4 years. I don't know if that helped change anything,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm. Yeah, so that's that. And yeah, I think that's kind of a different this idea
Yeah,
of, we're gonna go to somebody's house and have coffee and it'll be a nice calm conversation. Um, that's one way that we might be able to approach. We might
yeah,
also find ourselves at a protest where people are very emotional. Is there a way to start a conversation or at least make an invitation at that event, and then later on, as you say, have that dialogue? So what are
right.
the different settings that we can start having these dialogues in? Because now there's so much opportunity to try to put forward
Hmm.
a vision of how we could interact with one another. And those of us who are running for office, we have everybody from people running for governor to our race to people running in local races, county and city. And so some of them have opponents within a party. Some of them have opponents with another party. And all of these are also ideas, conversations about ideas and visions for your community and so forth. So, not only how do you express your own vision, how do you have a conversation with the other people in the race, and how do you have a vision? How do you have a conversation with the people in the community that you're interacting with so that
Hmm.
they feel powerful? And I don't want to say feel powerful, they should know their power.
Hmm.
As was mentioned by the speaker, she said all of us are powerful. So how do we interact with those people in our community during this process so that they know their power, and it gives them a good feeling when they're interacting with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked how Anne was saying before she did, I think it was before she had to have a reckoning with herself, because you have to be willing to sit and listen,
Yes.
and you have to be willing to listen to understand versus listen to speak.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
you have to have a reckoning with yourself that you're not going to get yourself heated up over anything, that you're going to have good clear, and you might have to. I have a friend that posts things on her Facebook, and people will post the opposite opinion,
Mhm.
and her reply to everybody all the time is, that's okay, we can agree to disagree. And she
Mhm.
just is always like, very much like, we can agree to disagree. And
Mhm.
I thought, well, she does a pretty good job of actually saying that versus coming back with her button defending, and then that, and I think,
Yeah, the back
you
and
know
forth
the
is
back
not
and
always
forth,
powerful.
she doesn't do any of that. And I thought she does pretty good. She just say, oh, well, I think we can agree to disagree. And so I think, like, for Anne, I can see that having to, you have to give up it's like giving up your agenda, giving up
Mhm.
your um to take in and listen and learn. It's
Yes.
important. And I don't want to say like an agenda, like, you have an agenda, like you're going to do something, but like give up your own, and be willing to try on something new, and be willing to listen. And I think that takes a lot of discipline.
And do you have any observations to add to that?
I think Angie, got
Yes.
disconnected a little bit ago, but
Oh, okay.
I,
She's
I
there.
did for a minute, but I'm Yeah, but I'm back. Thanks, Christina, for recognizing the heart of what I was wanting to say.
Mhm.
But I don't have anything to add other than I think the one-to-one conversations are just so important at the core of changing our whole the whole atmosphere in which we encounter one another. So I just think they're tremendously important.
Mhm.
Yes, the one-to-one, yeah, is tremendously important. Anne is very good. I know she has bad signal, but she's at her house.
Oh, whose dog is that?
That would be my dogs. I can't mute them and mute myself.
Here's a comment.
Oh, Lori or Marsha, I don't know if you had anything to add. So I know.
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
It's Marsha.
I don't know. I just try to keep myself open to other opinions, and I feel like I'm older. I should have done this when I was younger, but I guess it's better to do it sometime than not at all.
Mhm.
But I pick certain things, things that I don't agree with, and read them, and it's so, or stuff online that I'm finding, and to try to read these other opinions and just challenge myself that way. And I don't know, it's hard sometimes, like I remember a book I was reading, it was so hard to get through because I just felt, I said, oh gosh, I need to do this. It's good for me, but it was so hard. But anyway.
Well, yeah, I do want to, again, focus not on the perspective that the other person has. I really think that the message of the speaker was seeing each other as human beings.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if we can kind of keep that jewel in the center, we might not agree with any of the other things that are being said, but how we treat one another, the people who call in and are making these ugly remarks and these threats and all these things that they're saying, once they have that reminder, and you have that in ordinary encounters, you have the grocery store and you're upset because you have to wait a long time or you're in a hurry and you got a long line ahead of you and you get to the cashier and you're gruff with that person. So it's really the same battle, the battle of each of us are human beings, and every opportunity that we have to treat someone as such.
Yeah, I
I
really try to keep that in the forefront of my mind, that everybody, I'm a Christian, so I really feel that, that everybody's made in the image of God. But anyway.
Yeah, very important. And if we, we have so many examples where people feel overlooked, they don't feel heard, they don't feel respected.
Yep.
And that's something else that we have to challenge through this process.
Wow.
Yep, totally. I liked the part in there where she was saying how her friend that she was reading the comment at the end, how his son was killed, and how I did like that part, how she was saying that people told her, or he chose not to have the passive revenge, but or being angry or anything like that. And I thought that was a very interesting point to bring up.
Tough.
So and I get that can be tough. Yeah.
And everybody's
but it's
not gonna
looking at
be there.
Yeah, and it's looking at the other person as a human being. It's really being able to look at the other person as a human being.
Yes.
And I
And,
think some major dialogue to even understand and to try to understand and to, I think that's a huge thing.
yeah, we have the example right now of, the shooter in Buffalo and the shooter in Texas,
Mhm.
And, even the police that I saw a press conference that the governor and a number of other people were having, and the candidate for governor came up and he was making some remarks, and people just started yelling and cursing, the people on the stage. And so, I didn't really expect that response, but people felt like, oh, you don't have a right to say anything. We have this press conference, this setting, and, we're going to control everything that's said and everything that comes out of that. So anyone who comes up and has an alternate view, the result was so hostile. I was really, kind of surprised at that. So that's another, all of these are opportunities for us to say, okay, how do we, again, we're trying to build this vision together.
Right. Yep. And even in scenarios like that, I think sometimes if you've listened enough to people, you can understand that they are hurt right now and they're coming from a place of pain, and to give them some time to process, like some healthy time to process, and then come back and try to have this conversation. I think that's kind of an important. I think when you start to really listen to people, you can see how their thought processes unfold.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing to be able to be aware of. I give the speaker a lot of credit for going to their houses, because I know for me, I was able to we go to a neutral territory.
Yeah,
We go to a neutral territory, and my life 360 is on, so everybody knows where I'm at.
That's extreme courage, right?
Yes, because I was like, ooh, that's good. I also think that might be because she's in Denmark. It might be a little bit different in Denmark.
Oh,
she's in
okay.
Denmark. I think the culture is a little bit more, a little bit different than it might be here in the States.
Yeah.
Not sure. I'm just like, No, I really enjoyed the whole conversation. I enjoyed her type of conversation a lot. So, and I liked that she threw that out there to people to try it on. Because I think encouraging more and encouraging others to do things like that. And I'm very proud of you that you have even done that already. So that is very cool. And I know, Bob, it takes courage to speak to other people and try to package up what you want to say without slapping them.
Yeah, without blasting them. Yeah. So I
dealt with my father. I was like, are you insane? Do you know what I do for a living? You cannot be posting things.
Yeah.
I was like, no. So I know I wanted to slap him.
And but these that I think this just shows us the conversation that we're having. And about to close up in a minute or two, but it just shows how many different venues and opportunities we have to try to practice that. We don't, it might look like the coffee model, but it might be an everyday interaction with somebody at the gas station or in the grocery store. It may be somebody like me who's going around the state and interacts with all these people. It may be somebody like you who is putting on dialogues in a multi-faith setting and kind of showing people how to do that. So the more people can see and the more examples people see of that being done, the better we have at seeing the humanity of one another.
Yep. I don't know, Marsha, if you had something to say.
No, I was just going to say that appreciate everybody's input, and was glad to participate. And I'll look for opportunities to, well, I can do it with in my own family too, you know.
Mhm. Yes,
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 yes.
so many opportunities.
Yes. And I look forward to following up with you next time I see your name on a call. I'm going to ask you if you've been having coffee with anybody. So. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you all being here tonight and being on this call tonight. It is being recorded, so it will be on YouTube tomorrow. If you wanted
Okay,
to share it with anybody, you can. Catherine, I will send you a link to it so that you can
okay,
share it.
please, yes, I
Um,
could share.
And I just want to thank you. I'm going to go ahead and